Another Sales Wisdom podcast with an emailing friend. His name is Pierre Pignault, founder and CEO at Mailsor. He is from France. You might notice the accent, just like I have a little Quebecer accent. Pierre, welcome to the podcast. And can you tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about Mailsor?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thank you, Charles, for having me on the podcast. So I'm Pierre. I'm the founder and CEO of Mailsor. We're an email deliverability agency based in France. We help sender all over the world make sure that their email gets delivered reliably and securely in their recipient's inbox. We help a lot of different industries. Our team of experts handles a lot of audits, best practice implementation, long-term support, really anything to just make sure that we get our clients back on track of having good emailing capabilities, and we maintain these capabilities in the long run. So, yep, this is a little bit more about the company and what we do. Please feel free if you have other questions.
I have a bunch. So you're catching me on a good day here. Mailsor,
Right.
why did you decided to make the jump from sales, which were your last jobs, you went biz dev, to founding your own company? First, I think that you saw a problem with deliverability that was almost widespread in your sales team. But then why the jump? Did the sales mail made the entrepreneurship easier for you, because sales is very much like being a hunter by your own? Why did you jump?
I don't think I decided from one day to the other to make the jump. I was working in the US in sales, in SaaS company sales. And yeah, I did pay attention that, we're doing a lot of outbound emailing, and deliverability was becoming to be a raising question around the team. So I got to learn a little bit about that. And I was pretty much the only one in the team to really kind of know my way around the best technical practices and behavior practices. So I was there on a visa, and as you may know, your US visa usually have a start and a clear end. So I had to go back to France, and I proposed to my company to just simply stay on a remote position and just handle their email deliverability, report to them, and troubleshoot everything. Then I went to a couple of other people in the same area and asked them if I could do the same for them. So I essentially became a freelancer. And then during COVID, I would say that things really took off massively, because a lot of businesses that were not used to doing emails had to jump on the boat. So we saw an exponential growth during and after the COVID, and a few first months after that. So I decided to kind of start getting some help, which I wasn't really calling a business at this point, just some people that will help me assist in some simple tasks. And from there, it just grew to be full-on deliverability consulting business, which now has about 15 people employed. So yeah, that wasn't choice. That just happened, I would say.
So you mentioned during COVID, massive growth. Like, were you dealing mostly with e-com business or SaaS? Like, why this massive growth?
Yeah, a big portion of our clients are e-commerce, which needs to get their email notification delivered properly. SaaS has kind of like always been a big part of our business as well. It didn't necessarily take off during COVID. Maybe a little bit because some people were using more online tools and less office tools like pieces of paper. But I wouldn't say, I would say most of the growth was carried by local businesses who really had to get the word out there. Make sure they still existed, a lot of e-commerce, and a lot of companies who also not necessarily did send more emails, but because they couldn't see each other and they couldn't see their clients like they would be used to, they had to get the email delivered. And when they had the deliverability issue, it became more of a prevalent issue. So, it's a mix of more emails and just more at stake delivering emails correctly.
Right? Because to me, it's inevitable that you will get some deliverability issues as soon as you hit scale, as soon as you are emailing same folks at one company and or similar companies that use the same spam filter. So invariably, when you scale, you will get in the spam. And with that comes the second problem. Once you get in the spam, it may be hard to get out of it, right? So do you approve these two precepts?
I would say that without any knowledge, it is likely that indeed, once you start scaling anything up, you will encounter some deliverability issues. Luckily, we see some people able to handle deliverability in-house because they have the knowledge. Definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to deal with issues. I would say that it's always easier, and I agree with the two precepts in general, like the second one, which is like, it's easier to stay out of spam than getting out of it. You just have less efforts to do. Both of them are possible, but indeed, I mean, it's just easier to avoid a problem than fix it.
Right. What are the best practices to avoid getting into spam? For example, let's focus on cold email first. Maybe we'll go to marketing emails after that. But I use Apollo. I use SendGrid. SendGrid is not known usually to scale well and or to scale reliably. Let's call it that way. So what are the best practices for me as a cold email agency not to get into spam?
Well, the challenge is really targeting your audience with the right message so that you don't get spam reports. The best, I mean, like the biggest threat to cold email is negative engagement from the recipient, which usually is due to them getting annoyed by the fact that they're getting offers that might not be relevant to their company. I'm not one to be completely against cold emailing at all. I just always try to make sure that we think about kind of the user at the end. Like if would you actually be happy to get that kind of email? If not, then probably not a whole lot of people will be happy. And so basically, you can have the best deliverability consultant in the world. If people report your email into spam, then you're going to spam. That's pretty much the end of the story. So I would say the first thing,
multiple reports.
No, it's multiple reports. Obviously, it's usually like it's usually like a percentage and a sheer value of report. And obviously, there's some thresholds at which you may not necessarily trigger spam filters to really have attention on you. So obviously, like the first thing is just try not to be spammy, really. Because if you are, then you will go to spam and you probably belong there because people are annoyed with what you're sending. The second thing is obviously try to spread, like not put all of your eggs into one basket for cold emailing. You may have the best intention in the world. You may have a good product, good audience, good message. It might happen that some people get more annoyed because obviously your type of email is probably at the riskiest of all the type of email that you can send. So you may want to have, a couple of subdomains or a couple of separate domains. You may want to work with shared IP to make sure that you blend in the rest of the people that are using that IP. You may want to try to use low volume on a daily basis because obviously the more you're sending, the more attention you're drawing. And this is what I found. Sometimes people say, look, I've been sending X thousand emails a day and nothing happened. And then I go to 10,000 a day and then I go spam. Well, but maybe you crossed some thresholds at some major destination that led them to kind of take all these spam reports into consideration, which they weren't doing in the past. So that's pretty much what I would say with cold email. But in general, like I see people being successful with it when they have a great product. They research the audience. They don't just kind of like spray and pray tactic. That thing doesn't work anymore, and it's super spammy. And also like they just kind of listen and see the feedbacks that people give them throughout their email, and usually the best cold email or the funniest one, right? Because who hates a fun email, even though it might not be perfectly pertaining to your business? You may just, say no thanks or something like that.
Right. Yeah, even if it's funny, it doesn't necessarily would justify like me taking my time, it's maybe just congratulate them on, oh, that's a nice little email right there, well written. I find that the call to action, let's book a demo, has taken its toll, and it's not actual anymore nowadays. One channel and offer that I suggest often to my clients nowadays is the podcasting offer. So people to start their podcast and start your relationship by recording a call and publishing it to an audience that is very much win-win. And people that wouldn't normally accept a demo would say yes to a podcast. So I find that, yeah, it's because it's all about two things, right? It's about product market fit. So what industries are you targeting with what product? Now, the hack, in my opinion, lately has been just offering a super nice product. What's a super nice product? It's a front end offer like a podcast. And I feel that this is applicable to any industry out there, just that most people are scared, don't know how to do it, and so forth. Now, obviously, if you have a podcast for a specific niche, let's say MarTech, I think that's hitting like the jackpot, the bullseye right there. And a bunch of people will find it relevant to hop on a call with you. Now I still have a question. The offering part and the copywriting part and what you offer to whom, I've got it narrowed down and mastered. Still, I have multiple Apollo accounts. Some of them are doing less good than some others. Maybe I've got flagged in the past, and maybe it's hard to come back to the whole, so that will be a question. But first, before I ask that one, can you get in the spam without necessarily being spam filtered or flagged? Is it possible that some mailbox have some firewalls that filter some words and automatically put you in there without necessarily being flagged as spam, and then that communicates to other mailbox, and next thing you know, without even being flagged as spam, you end up in the spam? Is that a possible scenario there?
I would say that's very unlikely. 2023, most major mailbox spam filters are not going to rely only on one
bots.
single insight.
Yeah, it's a human clicking flag as spam, right?
Yeah, well, you were asking about can my email copy, can some words that I'm sending just lead me to go to spam,
or an image,
in theory,
or a hyperlink?
Well, in theory, not really at most major providers. Now, because they mostly rely on user engagement, and they don't really take bad words or good words, because you need to think that some legit industry will use them. Like, for example, we work with the adult industry. They send very graphic and very explicit emails. They don't go to spam. They go to main inbox, because the people subscribing to this kind of newsletter are very engaged with it, no matter what you're putting in there. You got all the fintech companies, you got all the cryptocurrency podcast, fitness influencer, all of that. As long as they got the right audience, they go to main inbox and they get away with sending a lot of very explicit materials. One tiny thing is about what's called fingerprinting. It's a practice that most spam filters and blacklist will do, which is they will try to aggregate traffic coming from different sources with content elements such as words, links, images, even phone numbers, company names, things like that. So it is possible that if you've been sending the same email over and over again, and that you have, for example, common signatures across multiple accounts, your signature becomes flagged because of negative engagement, usually, and then that will communicate with the rest of the domain. But again, that's a small percentage of the case.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Then once, let's say that some of my emails have been flagged into spam, I hired various deliverability experts. They've never really helped. It's like they charge 10K to fix like a mailbox, but yeah, why not, like buy a new domain and start from scratch, is my question for you.
Well, I guess this
If I
really
can
is.
afford it, right? If it's not my domain name with like a top lead something, if it's an alternative domain name, and if I've gone in the hole and getting out of the hole is like 10x, 100x more expensive than starting from scratch, is that what I should do? Just buy a new domain name and start over again?
Yes, I believe if you have a decision between um, two things that essentially lead you to the same outcome, and one of them is 100 times more expensive than the other one, then you should probably get the cheapest one.
But is it that
Especially
way? Is
like
it like really 10x more expensive than starting from scratch, or can it be fixed super fast in like one day?
it really depends on the cause of the issue. If the cause of the issue is, for example, simple technical problems, the technical problem can be solved within a couple hours, and then you're back on track. If the problem is reputation and it's deeply rooted since a few months, it's going to take you at least a couple of weeks or months to get back on the right track. And then again, sometimes it's just not even possible because the people don't have the quality of data. They just know that spam filtering will happen at some times. So they just decide to go with the option of kind of like throwaway domains. They keep it for a couple of months and then they leave it out. But then again, like that's somehow for me, like for example, like a little bit of a flag, and I would not work with people who are simply kind of like throwing away domains because they're not fixing the root cause. They're just fixing the symptom. The root cause is that their cold email program is not correct, is not up to whatever standards it should be. So it generates a lot of spam. It annoys people. And I'm also like a user of a mailbox. So I get a lot of cold email. Some of them are fun. Some of them are helpful. Most of them are incredibly annoying and badly targeted, right? So I kind of put myself at the end user as well. And I sometimes will refuse project because they fit the spammy classification for me.
Yeah, and especially what are they selling? What's their product? Is it like dog shit product, or is it something helpful, of value that if the client says yes, then they can actually go and add value? What if I'm on a blacklist, for example? How do you get off these blacklists?
It depends. A lot of blacklists are very harmless. Then you have to first figure it out. Is my IP or is it my domain blacklisted? If it's your IP, if it's a shared IP that doesn't belong to you, then you can't do anything. If it's your domain, then most reliable blacklist will actually tell you why they kind of listed you, or at least give you some insights on that. Like the biggest, like the most important blacklists are not going to list you just for the sake of listing you. They have a very, very, very low rate of fake positive, and they actually don't list a whole lot of people. Like they list very few people. Like you have to think that blacklists are more here for internet security, like fraud, bad, really, really bad, like criminal type of mail, more than actually just filtering spam. Filtering spam is just like a kind of a side product of what they're doing. So yeah, I say like it depends on the situation. Is it your IP or domain? What is the blacklist that's listing you? And then again, like, if it's a big one, they should be able to communicate back to you. Listings will expire eventually. So if you stop doing whatever you did that caused your listing, it will expire by itself, usually after a couple of days or after a couple of weeks, depending on the destination, the blacklist. Well, yeah, that also needs to be taken on like a bit of case for case.
So I have a shared IP with SendGrid, and this shared IP is not doing well. Can I just ask them to change the IP?
Well, that is an interesting case because you're, first of all, like, I mean, yes, you may ask SendGrid whatever you want. They may also say, yeah, we'll do something and do nothing, which is usually what they'll do. Like they already have a deliverability services, unless it's a major event, like unless like thousands and thousands of users are suddenly reporting for example, bounce messages or undelivery notification. Okay, they'll just say yes, but they won't do much. The second thing that you have to think of is that SendGrid does not only have one shared IP, they have tons of them, and they have a compliance service which ranks IPs from the best one to the worst one, and they also ranks clients from the best one to the worst one. So if your clients that shows non-compliant behavior, such as high rate of spam report, a lot of bounces, high unsubscribe, low open rates, things like that, then they will downgrade you from very good shared IP to lower shared IP. So it's as much of a symptom as it is a cause. You just have to figure it out, like, okay, am I first a really good sender? And then if you are, then you may be able to communicate kind of productively with their service by giving them, for example, screenshot of your domain reputation on Google Postmaster, or proving that you're using only opted-in contacts or things like that, right? But yeah, so this is as much of a symptom as a cause. First, I would say make sure your own domain reputation and your own practices are in order, because chances are they're not going to do much. And if you're in an IP pool, it's for a reason.
Right. Interesting talk we had. Yeah, like my last question for you is like, what do you use to get your own clients? Do you use outbound as well? Do you use cold email on your side, or is it mostly inbound?
No, we don't. We actually don't do any outbound at all. We just bring inbound leads from various sources. Our number one source of leads is actually referrals, like people just talking to other people. We obviously have a lot of people coming from like various ads places online. We also have some freelancing platform that will post jobs that are relevant to what we can do. But we do not do any cold emailing. We do not do any outbound strategy right now. Our main issue, which can be thought of as a good issue, but it's still an issue. Like, we're mostly working through managing who can we actually take as a client, and who do we need to refuse, because we only have so much consultants and so much bandwidth, right? So it's a bit of a selective process as well. Right.
And do you have a newsletter, an email marketing on your side?
We don't actually. we don't have a newsletter. We don't have much. I mean, we have a lot of marketing, but no email marketing developed right now. It's simply a matter of resources. We haven't really been able to put anything into place right now. So
start your Substack, dude. It's free and it's instant, and the deliverability is pretty good. Substack.com.
Oh yeah, no, but we do have we do have an email infrastructure, because we do occasionally send some mass communication to clients and all that. We don't have any delivery issue, but it's more of a matter of our challenge is find time to write good content, and we also don't want to be redundant. I think there's a lot of good resources on deliverability around. So I wouldn't want someone to spend their time doing the same as someone else, really. So we probably will try to do something, but it's not on the roadmap for the next few months.
Interesting. Love it. Love their talk. Just one last, out of curiosity, like I've seen your Upworks. Is your business model 150 per hour? So when people hire you, it's like, oh, I'm going to spend at least 10 hours per week. So we'd be talking about 1.5K per week, and we'd be talking about 6K a month. Is that it?
No, first of all, like our hourly rate on any freelancing platform is just kind of an indication. Like we just set it there just because we don't really work on an hourly basis at all. We work on monthly flat rates. We call it like the all-you-can-eat deliverability rates. The goal is just to provide you with we're responsible for your deliverability for X amount of money. Obviously, X varies greatly. We have some very small senders that are just a couple $100 per month, which we just do some basic monitoring, reporting, and troubleshooting. It goes up to obviously tens of thousands for bigger sender, which have a lot of different infrastructure, a lot of different activity, a lot of different projects. So we never bill hourly unless it's specific requests. We always have simply monthly flat rate, and you pay for this with a specific commitment, which is 3 months, 1 year, 3 year.
Interesting. Are we talking about 3K per month? Is that the
It
rate?
depends really. It depends really on the project. Like I say, like the smallest project that we probably have must be about 300. The biggest project is probably in the upwards of tens of thousands. So the range very greatly. The goal for us is not to be kind of expensive. The goal for us is to bring such return on investments that we can afford to work together.
Roger that. Where can people find out more about you, Pierre?
We have a website, mailsor.com, LinkedIn if they prefer. Google does a pretty good job as well. So mostly we're an online based company. Everyone is working remotely in my team, so they can go online and figure out anything they need and book a meeting with me.
Mailsor.com, right? Soar like soaring. I love the name, by the way. So mailsor.com.
SOAR. Yes. I've always loved airplane, and I don't know why I'm pretty bad at marketing, so I just figured Mailsor was cool, but it seems like it stayed. So
No, it's pretty good.